Starting a creative business can be one of the most exciting yet challenging things that you can do. So if you're thinking about starting your own, I want to share the 5 important things I wish I knew before launching my custom embroidery business. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Justice channel. My name is Justin Chong. I started my creative journey doing an assortment of different things prior to custom embroidery, all whilst pursuing my architecture degree here in Melbourne, Australia. I did graphic design, what else did I do? Photography, freelance illustrations, and even architectural visualizations at some point. Even though these side gigs were all relatively different, they all still had one thing in common. They were creative businesses. You ready? Let's dive in. Tip number 1. Master your craft, but learn the business too. In the beginning, I thought that if I put out work that was high quality, everything else would fall into place. Spoiler alert, it didn't. To run a successful embroidery business, or in this case any business at all, you will need to learn to juggle the administrative side as well. Client communications, managing orders, shipping logistics, and even basic accounting. I learned that if you don't have any of these systems in place, the creative side of your work will also suffer. When I first started, I spent way more time than I expected looking into how to run ads and video editing for my marketing content. But right now, I've learned to outsource. I've learned to give these roles to people that are more capable than I am. This was all just to streamline my process a bit better. And I wished I learned how to do all of this earlier rather than struggle with a lot of this in the previous times. But hey, we all started somewhere, and I made this video because I wanted to let you guys know to think about all of these things before you start your creative business. Bonus tip, I would also highly recommend the practice of batching tasks so that you can free up your headspace and think about things in small batches or small quantities rather than doing one thing and then trying to rewire your brain to do something else. So for example, like these videos that I make, I actually make them. So rather than filming a video, editing a video, I would be like filming multiple videos so that I can like keep them in my backlog and then send them all off to my editor at one shot. In the process of me waiting for him to edit, I would then be thinking about new ideas and then batch creating scripts. Does that make sense? So I was watching Dr. Izzy Seeley's video, who is a full-time doctor and also a very successful YouTuber, and she's mentioned that because she treated YouTube as a business from the get-go rather than a hobby, and this was something that she picked up from her now husband Ali Abdal. Again, congratulations you both. You taught me so much and are one of the main reasons why I started YouTube in the first place. I've been watching you guys for years. So Dr. Izzy has learned that her time is worth so much more than the money she saves by editing her own videos. Hence why she's outsourced her video editing within a month or 2 of her YouTube journey. I will try to find a video where she said that, but I will put it down in the description down below. So when I first started implementing that ideology into my own work as well, I learned that this has really freed me up to focus on other aspects of the business that nobody can replicate just yet, which is the designing and the actual embroidery of the pieces. But who knows, maybe the next step would be to actually outsource the embroidery itself. So me being the creative brain to design the designs and then get someone else to work on the actual labor work. I don't know, maybe, we will see. I'll keep you guys updated when I figure it out. Tip number 2, pricing your work is an art form. As a creative myself, I understand that pricing your work is honestly one of the hardest things. And you might undercharge at the very beginning, because I definitely did. In embroidery, every project is very different. There are different types of embroidery, there are different amounts of thread and time needed for each piece. It's tempting to just set a flat rate, but I quickly learned that that wasn't sustainable at all. So if you're in the field of physical products as a business, I would highly recommend that you take time out to really calculate the cost of not just your materials but also your labor. I think a lot of people miss out on these 2 points, or I did. Again, no background in business, I kind of fluked my way into this business for like 2 years and running. So for instance, for me, I had to consider the thread, fabric, the hooping stations and the hoops themselves, the stabilizer backings, the shipping materials, packaging, and then after that I factored in my labor, because embroidery is quite time consuming and that time needs to be accounted for. One thing I started doing was actually timing how long it takes for me to embroider each design and just seeing how long it takes for me to do it from start to finish, so I could more accurately price based on the complexities of the project itself. This is very embarrassing to say, but I recently also learned the importance of paying myself instead of reinvesting every dollar back into the business. Whilst reinvesting is essential for growth, it's also crucial to set aside a portion for myself, because after all, I think that my hard work should be rewarding, and what's the point of starting this business if I don't get to enjoy the fruits of it? So let me just share a little bit about how I navigate through my pricing. So whether it's a line illustration or a tatami stitch, which is basically like a solid field piece, even though these two styles take roughly the same time to design on the software, that takes significantly different times to actually embroider out. So sometimes the field stitches would actually take 2 or 3 times longer than the line illustrations. However, this varies depending on the creative business that you are in. So if you're running a photography or videography studio, I assume that the pricing structure would be much more stable, I guess, in some way, as you can set a limit amount of time that you are going for the shoot. So like have certain packages and then just have add-ons if need be, or like the amount of promise photos you're going to produce, or the length of the video that you're going to edit for. Again, all of this came with a lot of trial and error, and I'm definitely not saying that my business structure is perfect right now, because it definitely isn't, but it's definitely way better than what it was 2 years ago. So can't complain about that. So I would just recommend that you just start the business and learn about the pricing with the more experience that you have. Tip number 3, clients can definitely be tricky, so manage expectations early on. I remember back in 2022, I accepted every order that came my way, which has led to some very stressful situations. Some clients have very specific ideas of what they wanted, and that can be great, but not every idea is practical or actually even possible. I've learned that it's crucial to set boundaries from the get-go and be upfront about what is realistic. So you have to be clear about your turnaround times, what designs you can and can't do, and what materials are available. It's never a great idea to overpromise and underdeliver. You end up with frustrated clients and a lot of stress, and your reputation will be at stake as well. And this is something that I want to highlight, that your reputation is more important than the amount of money that you ever make, because once you get bad reputation, it will just create a snowball effect where bad reputation, no one's going to trust you, and your business might go under. And that's something that I don't want, and I want to make sure that I take care of all of my clients with 100%, because for me, customer service is always going to be the most important thing, and client satisfaction is my absolute priority. Bonus tip for this point, you can check on my website and the form that I usually get people to fill. There are a few asterisks at the bottom where I indicate certain things like expected time of delivery, maximum hood sizes, or just, answering common questions that people will ask so that they will know what they're getting into before we go forward and start the project. But again, I'm always open for clients to give me a buzz just to ask more about the process, and I'm always happy to explain in detail how everything works, because I also personally want to educate people on how machine embroidery actually, I guess, work, because I think a lot of people, like me at the start, I didn't know how machine embroidery worked. Again, I thought it was just a push of a button, but it's actually not. There's a whole process that goes down. So yeah, if any one of you ever wanted to know more about anything about machine embroidery, just leave a comment down below. I'll definitely answer you, or you can text me on Instagram, or just give me a call. My number's somewhere on the website. So yeah, always happy to answer anything. I want you to know what exactly you're paying for as well. Tip number 4. Your time is much more valuable than the cost of your tools and your materials. Now, this is a different point to the outsourcing that I mentioned before. Your time is a valuable resource, but tools and materials can always be replaced. So always prioritize efficiency and delegate tasks as much as possible when you can, as the value of your time outweighs the cost of anything else that you use. So at the start, I made the mistake of trying to skimp on every single dollar that I can, being very frugal with my backing stabilizers, using every bobbin thread to the very last bit before I changed the roll, and in some ways it all came back to bite me. It didn't really affect the quality of my work, but it just made me really frustrated a lot of times, as I remember I wasted so much unnecessary time just re-hooping because the stabilizer came off a little bit during the embroidery process, or the needle would get stuck because I ran out of bobbin. And it's all fixable stuff, but the amount of time that I had to use to fix all of these unnecessary issues really just made it a very frustrating experience. Sometimes I would even spend almost double the time than anticipated. So the moment I realized that my time was much more valuable, everything changed with how I approach my custom embroidery business. Tip number 5, last point. Marketing is essential. Showcase your work. As mentioned earlier, I used to think that if I just made really beautiful products, people would automatically find me. But in reality, if you're not showing your work, it's going to be really hard for people to discover you. I think that's just basic logic. So social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and even here on YouTube are perfect for creative businesses because they are visual platforms. So I started not just posting finished products, but also behind the scenes of the custom embroidery process, the design design thinking, and it made a huge difference. People love seeing what I made. It actually creates a genuine connection between me and people that I have never actually met in person, and I think that's just great. One of my most popular posts was a time-lapse of a digitization process of one of the projects that I did for my local church. So I filmed it not expecting much, but I think because not a lot of people know what goes on behind the digitization process, or like how the lines are drawn, etc., it sparked a lot of curiosity and it took off a lot more than my other videos. So it actually did better than videos of me showing the final work, which I thought was quite fascinating, but I guess it made sense. It didn't take long to film, but it gave potential customers a glimpse into the time and the effort that goes into each custom order. So since then, I've made it a habit to post much more regularly and just connect with people online, because you never know who is seeing your work and who wants to work with you. Bonus tip, make it easy for people to find and contact you. I would definitely recommend creating a dedicated website or a social media page where people can easily contact you or place orders. Make the process as streamlined as possible for clients to find you, contact you, and place an order. It doesn't have to be perfect straight away. Again, this entire video, the premise is nothing has to be perfect. Just start and fine-tune it along the way. But always strive to create the best service for your customers. So these are the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started my creative business. Running a business is definitely challenging, and there are so many more lessons that I have to learn as well. But it's honestly so rewarding when you just kick things off and slowly improve it over time and actually see the fruits. So if you're thinking about starting your own creative business, or you're already on this journey like I am, I hope these tips help you out. Let me know in the comments what you've learned from your business or what you're struggling with. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me along on my journey to expand my creative output as well. Not just as a creative business owner, but also now as a content creator. I've linked a video somewhere here talking about how I deal with self-doubt as a creative. So if you're watching my videos, I assume that you're a creative as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.